Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
My guest, this is Jan Lewis. Today we have the author Sharon Healy Yang, and she has written a great new book. This is the second, I believe, of the book she's written.
Yes.
Letter from a Dead Man. Now, this is, we're just talking about, this is a mystery thriller, and this is the second book you've written.
Second one,
What was
yes.
the first one that you had written?
The first one is right here, Bait and Switch.
Hold that one up.
Do you want to hold it up? Okay.
Bait and Switch.
This is the first in the series, and I love the characters so much I wanted to keep going.
You kept going. Letter from a Dead Man. Did you choose the cover of it?
Oh, there's a really interesting story on the cover. My husband and I did that together.
Yeah.
And I like the style. It's set in the 40s, so we were looking to do something that had that sort of 40s
Feel to it.
ambiance. Yeah. And so we picked out the images, the style.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, it's kind of interesting how we designed it. We went into New York, because this is from the New York Public Library, the
Yeah.
famous lion. So we took photographs.
Yeah.
And then my husband took a picture of me leaning against a wall, kind of hiding like that in a dress like this.
Yeah.
And from the neck down, that's me. From the neck up, it's sort of a variation on Joan Bennett, the actress's head.
Yeah.
And so we did it ourselves.
And you self-publish, which is, I love, that's the way to go.
Well, it's actually small press.
Small
It's
press.
not self-published. It is small press.
That's okay too, as long as they let you run the show. Because too many people think, oh, well, I'll go to a high publisher.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen? If they accept you,
Yes.
they will design your cover the way they want to do it.
Yeah.
And they're not going to give you a publicist to help you get scheduled places. You're on your own. Whereas if you go your other way,
Yep.
then you can do it. You're pretty much in control.
Well, this is one of the things I liked about Touchpoint Press. They loved my cover work. They gave me a lot of freedom to write in the style I want. And, you know, I'm a little bit quirky. It's definitely like reading or watching a 1940s movie.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of sex and violence. There's romance and suspense.
Yeah.
So I get to write the style I want, and sometimes I know there are a few little literary references in there because I'm an English teacher. What can I say?
At Worcester State.
At Worcester State, yeah, I teach in the English department there.
And you majored in, was it literature? Or what was it you majored in?
Well, it is literature, and I specialized in 19th century British, like Victorian and Renaissance.
No, you didn't go to Worcester State.
No, I got my PhD at the University of Connecticut.
Oh, UConn.
Yeah,
Go. Is it Bulldogs?
Huskies.
Huskies.
Yeah, dogs.
It's a dog.
Canines.
I think that when I was looking around for
Yeah.
colleges, we
Yeah.
were considering UConn, University of New Hampshire, of course the state schools.
Mhm.
I think Middlebury, Vermont.
Oh, yeah.
But I think to get into Middlebury, Vermont, you had to have, your math had to be a
Yeah.
little higher than mine was on the SAT. So I couldn't have got my big toe in there. But a lot of the other ones were really good. Did you stay the whole full years, right?
Well, I got my PhD, so it wasn't 4 years, it
Yeah.
was 7 years.
Oh my,
Because you're not,
that's a lot of school.
yeah, you're not taking class, you're not doing 4 classes a semester,
Yeah.
because you're teaching part-time.
So you're like an MD. You're studying for
Kind
an
of,
MD.
in a way, except nobody dies if I say the wrong thing about
No.
Elizabeth Gaskell.
So did you lived originally in Connecticut then?
Well, I grew up in Lowell, Mass.
Yeah.
And then I moved down to Connecticut to pursue my PhD. So we lived in Storrs, Connecticut.
Yeah.
I lived in Ashford, and then after I married, we moved to Storrs, which is like just
Okay,
right
do you know where
next to-
Norwalk, New Canaan, and Stanford are?
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
where I used to
Yeah.
live
Oh,
with my
sounds
parents.
good.
Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
live down. All right, now I've only gotten halfway through it, and she's going to tell you. You don't have to give away the ending. I'm going to
Okay.
tell you, Letter from a Dead Man. Tell us about it. Give us a clue as to what it's about.
Well, there's we have an actress who was doing well on the stage, but now suddenly things have dried up, so she's in need of money. So her sister, who had started this fashion design firm, hires her to be kind of a clothes horse for her. And her sister has this very mysterious partner who's backing her, who is very careful about not letting people find out who he is. And then when the sister wants to bring in a very wealthy woman named Mrs. Alana Tewksbury, he really gets cold feet and he tries to disappear. And this other woman is herself very mysterious and has kind of a funny past herself.
Yeah.
So pretty soon somebody's dead. I won't tell you who.
Oh, there always have to be a dead one in this.
And someone very close to the sisters ends up being suspected of the murder.
Mm-hmm.
There's
an FBI agent gets in there too.
Yes, towards the end, yes, he comes in because he has a connection to the people who may be trying to frame the fiance of one of the sisters, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Jessica is trying to help her sister solve the crime, and there's also some missing jade from many years back that connected with the partner and connected with Mrs. Tewksbury. And of course, along the way, Dusty the cat helps out.
Yeah, the good cat.
Yes, yeah.
Dusty the cat. And you are. It talks about here on your little bio.
Yeah.
You like the 1940s. Obviously, that gorgeous hat she has. That's the 1940s.
It is. It's a vintage hat. It was a gift. Someone gave this to me. But a lot of the vintage, I have like 136 hats.
Talk about Imelda Marcos with shoes. You've got hats.
Well, I've been collecting them for 40 years, so, you know.
Where do you find these hats?
Well, I find them all over. I go to antique stores and flea markets, and so some of them are actual vintage.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you used to be able to go into a Sears and Roebuck's or a Bradley's even and get some vintage style hats. And then sometimes my students will say, "Oh, Dr. Young, here's a hat. You know, this would look great on you."
Thrift shops.
Yes, yeah, that's another. Yeah.
I don't know about yard sales so much, but boy, I'm telling you, if I go into one of these fun consignment thrift shops, you can find the funnest things.
Oh yeah, and sometimes decent prices too.
Oh yeah. Whereas if you might pay $45 at one of the other name stores, you might pay $7 or $8 at a thrift shop. What is the question of doing that? To me, that's common sense, really. And you look wonderfully. And her husband designed. Would you call it a jacket or just top?
The whole suit.
Even the skirt?
Yeah, it's a suit. Well, what happened was the original pattern for this jacket was an actual vintage jacket from the 40s, and I said I'd love to have a suit in navy and gray, and a friend of mine had given us some. Material.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do it. We already had a pattern for the skirt. He makes the pattern. He will look at something and get a newspaper and just create a pattern himself.
Did he study sewing at all?
Well, yes and no. Well, he grew up in China.
And he's a physicist, though.
Right. Well, it's as he said, it's geometry. Yeah. It's all geometry when you do this.
And so, did his mother sew a lot?
Well, yeah, his mother did, and she told him when he was probably a teenager, she said, you may have to go into the army. And at that point, they made their own uniforms, and so you better learn how to sew. So he did, and then he just had that talent, and he just remembered, and so we were talking about making clothes, and he just said, "Oh well, let me try this." So we got it. I picked out the little buttons. I picked out the colors.
But he had to know how to, if you go to look at Simplicity or McCall's patterns, how did he know how to just put it together? He just knew.
Yeah, he put the jacket down on a big table, and he looked at it, and then he he drew out got some newspaper and drew out the different parts and
She told me this, and I said, "Ooh, I've been looking for a good seamstress."
He only does it for me. I'm sorry.
Only for her. Yeah. But the talent, I'm telling you, when you go home and say, "Hey, this is really good stuff." I don't know, but if you found that in the store, that's going to go for the big bucks. Let me tell you.
I would think so. Yeah. It's funny because sometimes I look at stuff on eBay, which most of it, I bought a few vintage things on eBay, but not much because it's super expensive.
But you don't need to go that far. Just go to your thrift shops.
Well, that's true.
Antique stores. There's one, I think, in Grafton, right near the Common.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I'll have to check that out.
Right near the Common. As you go down the hill, 140 to head for the lights in Grafton.
Okay.
It's right over there near that Bushel and Peck or whatever it is. But anyways, now, when did you? This came out this year. Letter from a Dead Man. Now, it came out this year. It's pretty thick. When did you start writing it?
Oh, let me think. Well, I've always been writing. So
Since you were a child, too?
yeah, actually, the first thing I wrote was I was about 8 years old, and I wrote this story about a girl who was walking down a dark street followed by a vampire, and she got onto a bus, and then the vampire followed her onto the bus.
Yeah.
And I remember later thinking, if he's a vampire, why doesn't he just turn into a bat and fly after her? But I don't know. When you're 8 years old, you don't think.
Did your teachers pick up on this?
Yes and no. Well, I didn't really share it with them. Maybe in high school, we had to write a short story.
It had to have been obvious to the high school teachers, really. They pick up on the kids who really, yeah.
Well, I think, the teacher I wrote a short story for liked it, but nobody really said too much about it. My brother used to like to write, and he always encouraged me. And my friends, I would write stories for them, and we would write stories. I would write stories about things that interested me. So I was reading a lot of mysteries. Even then, I was an old movie buff, so I wrote a lot of stories. I'd whip them off, and so I've been writing for years and years, and that's kind of how I've been honing my craft. Now this one, I probably started it around. Let me see, the copyright I have on the draft before I sent it in was 2008. So I probably started writing it a few years before that.
Yeah.
When I'm in school, I can't write fiction because I'm just wholly into. And then also, for teaching, I had to work on my scholarly stuff. So that would take up a lot of my summer.
Right.
But what I would try to do is find a part of the summer where I could work on that. So it would take me like 3 or 4 summers to write it.
Wow.
And you go through many drafts, and you get many. I have a lot of people I get feedback from.
Yeah, you've got friends. Do you belong to any writer clubs or that type of thing?
I don't belong to like an official writer club, but I have a kind of a posse.
Yeah.
That
They could edit it for you.
Yeah.
I just had a guest on yesterday who does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's great to have friends who are willing to do that.
Yeah. Oh, there's a third one I haven't published yet.
You're working on the third. I knew this was coming.
Well, the third one is actually done, but it has to be revised.
Is it a Jessica Minton
It
mystery?
is, yes. It's called.
So you're going to continue. Now, your first one was Bait and Switch.
Right.
Now we've got Letter from a Dead Man. Jessica Minton Mystery. The next one is done, but you have to, edit it now?
Yeah, I really need to edit it.
When do you think it's going to be done? I mean, completely.
Well, let me think. I'm going to work on trying to really polish it this coming summer.
Yeah.
And so if I have something good by then, I can send it out to the publisher
Yeah.
by the end of the summer. And then that usually takes about 6 months going back and forth with my editor there.
Sure.
So maybe there'll be something out.
How many do you order at a time? How many do you order at a time?
Do you mean like for me to sell?
Well, yeah. How many do you order so them to deliver to you so that you can sell them?
Well, I usually do about 70 copies.
That's a lot. Create Space is really great. I don't know how much it is per book, but I would think that would add up.
Well, what happens is I can buy them at 60%.
Really?
No, actually, I think if I did 70, I think it's 50%.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and then when I sell them, I'm going to sell them for more than 50%, but I'm not going to sell them for the list price, which is, they don't have it on there for some reason.
No, it's not.
It's $16.99.
Well, that's very fair.
Yeah, if you go on Amazon.
Where have you been appearing, Sharon?
Oh, lots of places. Well, this year so far, well, actually, I should say I started, let's see. All right, this year so far, I did a book launch at the Book Lovers Gourmet.
Oh, I know her well.
Isn't she wonderful,
up in
Deborah
Webster.
Hart? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We had a
lot of my authors have gone up there.
We had a really nice time, and two other authors that I know who are members of Sisters in Crime, which is an organization that supports writers of mystery and thrillers, and provides opportunities also for us to promote our books and sell our books and be on panels. They were there, Lisa Lieberman and Leslie Wheeler, who are wonderful writers too. I recommend them. So they were there. We had a wonderful time talking about writing and how you write and doing readings and answering questions. I'm also going to be this Saturday, a week from tomorrow, January 20th, I'm going to be at the Eastford, Connecticut Public Library.
Eastford, where is that? Is that northern Connecticut?
Yeah, that's near Woodstock.
Close to us?
It's about about 40 minutes south
Putnam
of us.
area, Putnam at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
not too far.
Yeah. So
No.
you can go out to Mrs. Bridges' pantry.
Have you been over to
afterwards.
Tatnuck? I always ask. Have you been there?
I haven't done Tatnuck for this one yet. I did a signing at Tatnuck.
For the first book?
Yes,
Okay.
I think it was. I don't remember if it was last year or the year
Did they
before
did
that.
they have you give a presentation? I've been in there in the big room, or did you sit out front more?
They
and
just had me sit out and sign.
Sometimes a lot of authors, if they're a little shy at first, they'll sit at the little table, and people can walk by and buy it,
Yeah.
or you can sign it. I love the presentation room. I've given them in there.
I haven't had a chance. I was trying to get that, but somehow it didn't work out.
Oh, I'd love to get them in there, my office. Oh my God! Another thing I do haven't been up to. I would think up in July, every July,
Yeah.
in Danversport, Mass.
Yeah.
They have the expo, the New England Authors Expo.
Oh, that's
You would-
interesting. I'll
I'll
check
tell
that
you-
out. Yeah.
I think you'd love
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
Really, it's a huge ballroom, and I've talked about it many times. I think it's very enjoyable for the authors as well as for us going in.
Yes, sure. And
Overlooks
you
the
see-
yacht club.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's
yeah.
not. I'm not saying it's elite or she or anything like that. No. It's just very beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like a ballroom. It's gorgeous.
I like that.
Everybody
Nice.
goes. It doesn't matter what money you have. They have all kinds of authors.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much competition because everyone is darn different.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's true.
And I always say,
Speaking of
share a
things.
table, bring your hubby or bring a friend, not just so you can get up and leave it to go to the ladies' room, so
Yeah.
you can get up and start walking around and schmoozing and
Yes.
getting your card.
And make connections. Yeah.
Now, this letter from a dead man, you started this, about 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Well, I started. No, I mean I actually started writing the whole thing probably like around 2006 or 2007.
Wow, that's a long. But you've already got the next one almost all set.
Right. Well, what happened is I've always been writing. I never stopped writing,
Yeah.
and once I got Bait and Switch accepted,
Mhm.
then things started moving faster.
These are going to be downstairs, by the way. Those of you who know about our authors wall at the Upton Town Library, Bait and Switch is Sharon's first book, and then Letter from a Dead Man is now the second one. Do you know what the name of the next one?
Yeah, always play the dark horse.
Oh! Okay, so you and your husband have designed the cover for that too?
Yeah, I haven't quite figured. I know there's going to be a dark horse on it, but
How, Sharon, can people reach you, get your book? Tell them how they can do that.
Well, one good way, if you would like to, it's available online through Amazon, both of them, also through barnesandnoble.com. It's also in local bookstores, and I strongly urge people, save yourself some postage and support our local merchants. It's at Annie's Book Stop in Worcester. I think it's 65 James Street.
Also in Northborough. Do you have it over there?
I don't have it
Okay.
there. And by the way, I will be doing a reading and signing on February 10th from 1 to 3 at Annie's Book Stop. So come by, I'll read. You can ask me questions. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's also at the Book Lovers Gourmet in Webster.
Mm-hmm.
It's at Mystery on Main Street in Brattleboro, Vermont, which is a mystery lover's dream. Just, go in there. Every kind of mystery. The man who runs it, David, I think it's Wilson, wonderful man. Strongly advise you. Good place to buy it.
Mm.
And let me see, what else? What other places?
You think you're busy enough?
Yeah, I know. Well, no, this is what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm still teaching.
No, that's
I'm
good.
still working.
That's really good. How long have you been at Worcester State?
Well, I've been full-time at Worcester State since fall of 1999.
Now, your students know you're an author as well?
Yeah, and some of them buy my book.
Oh, yeah. Do they ask you to
Yeah.
do they come up to you and say, how could I start getting going on this, on writing?
Well, sometimes they have, or the other teachers sometimes have writing classes, and they've had me come in and talk about it. And what I always say to people is, first of all, keep writing.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be a good writer. You need to keep honing your craft. I mean, as I said, the first draft of Bait and Switch I finished in 1980, and life got in the way, and it got rejected partly because it was it was a little rough, but also there wasn't a niche for something in the 1940s.
Yeah.
And then it worked out well for me because I kept getting good feedback on it.
Well, the 1940s, you're not old enough to remember those. So what was the, I don't think, maybe I don't know, but
No, I'm not.
No, definitely not. So I'm thinking, what was the fascination with that?
Well, this is a time when my parents grew up. My mother was born in 1913 and my dad was born in 1923. So they lived through that time.
The Depression.
Yeah, and the war. And
so you're a baby boomer.
I am, 1957.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. I was right. She's too young for the 40s. Yeah. Well, no.
But, so they talked about that time. And then growing up, there were always old movies. We were always watching old movies.
And you like those.
Oh, I love them because there's a snappy patter. They're very cleverly plotted. Women were strong and men were glad of it,
Yeah.
I just, enjoyed the wit and the cleverness, and I wanted to create, and I thought, well, gee, let me create some mysteries or some horror stories.
Yeah.
And
around that era.
Yeah.
I think that's what I don't think I have.
Yeah.
I don't think I have met an author who was so well absorbed into one particular era.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't say era. Era.
Yeah, era, not era.
Yeah, no, and it's especially one that's before her time.
Well,
Unless it was maybe
Yeah.
fantasy or a romantic novel.
Well, I just find the time really interesting. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't want to live then because I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to get a PhD.
Right.
My marriage would have been illegal in many states, the racism and sexism. The music was great, the movies were good, but there were a lot of bad stuff. And people forget that at the time, nobody knew how World War II was going to end. And
No.
I wouldn't want to have to be in that suspense. But I like to get out of my own experience sometimes.
Get out of the comfort zone and get out there, right?
Yeah, and it's just, there's some interesting stuff. It just
We're
fascinates
talking
me.
with Sharon Healy Yang, and she is known on her covers as Sharon Healy Yang, and I call you Sharon Yang.
That's okay, yeah.
But she's the author of Letter from a Dead Man, and catch a copy downstairs in the library, or go and she's going to tell you again how to get her books. 2018. Are you pretty booked all the way through for appearances?
No, not yet. I'm starting to go. I mean, I have Annie's Book Stop in February. I have the library in the
And the Gourmet.
January. Yeah, I did that. I have something else in March. I'm going to be at Northborough Library.
I love Northborough
Well,
Library.
I'm on a panel with Lisa Lieberman and Leslie Wheeler.
When is this now going to be?
Oh, jeepers. I think it's March 21st. It's a Wednesday.
I go over there a lot. I'll check it out.
Okay, and if you go to my website, which is SharonHealyYang, .com,
Mm-hmm.
I have all my appearances and events. I have excerpts, sneak peeks at the novels. I also have some fun stuff about, if you like tea rooms, I do some reviews of tea rooms. I do reviews of mysteries from the 1940s and 30s. I do a blog on everything from cemeteries to my cats to riding the rail trails.
Cemeteries?
Yeah, we love to go to cemeteries and
Yeah.
check out the sculpture.
Do you know, that fascinates me too. Have you heard of the group, the Graveyard Girls?
No.
I think that's what they're called. They've been on our program a couple of
Yeah.
times. They literally know all these different symbols, and they've gone and given presentations.
Wow.
You know, the skulls in the old days.
Yeah.
Things that now would freak us out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
back then it was normal.
Right.
Things
right.
we'd never have on our tombstones now.
Right.
But I know Upton has a lot of history, and if you look at some of the old tombstones in this area, now you're in Auburn.
Yes.
Okay. So, have you been to the Auburn Library yet at all, to the president? I would think they would jump at the chance.
Well, I had been trying to make a connection and things just kept falling apart. So I don't know, maybe I'll try again later, but
You'd love Milford. Now, Milford up the street, they do a panel, or
Yes.
we had an FBI agent on here. And
interesting.
went to his presentation. So they'll have anything from one person
Yeah.
to maybe three in a panel. They have a room downstairs. They're very open to that.
Well, this is something that I do through Sisters in Crime.
Mm-hmm.
They will put together panels.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, actually, if people are interested in getting a panel of mystery writers, including me, if you contact the Speakers Bureau at Sisters in Crime, they will put together a panel for you, and there'll be topics like "We're not just making this up," or
I like that. It's
dying to people are dying to know this, or
I'm dying to know.
it's very nice. In fact, that's the Northbridge one I'm doing.
Northborough.
Northborough, yeah.
Northborough.
And then actually I'm going to be out in Ithaca at I can't remember the name of the bookstore.
Ithaca, New York?
Yes, because my
That's a
friend
bit of a heck. Yeah.
my friend Lisa Lieberman has some connections there, so we're doing something. She also writes, her things are set more in the 50s.
Yeah.
She has a new book called Burning Cold.
Mhm.
And so, we're going to be doing this together. We're going to do a noir night. And
What
we're
did your
gonna have
hubby
some
think of
music.
all of it? He's pretty proud of you, right?
Oh, he loves it. He really does.
Does he read all your books?
He does,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, and he's giving me some good critiques. There was one thing that was funny. He said, so you said here, these people, they could tell from the picture that it was a plainclothes policeman. Well, how could they tell? And I said, oh, you're right, because it would just be a man and...
He picked right up on it.
Yeah, so little things, you try so hard to catch all the errors, and
That's
then
it, yeah.
sometimes you just need another eye. So
Well,
yeah.
we're going to have to close, but Sharon, one more time, how can people get a hold of your book? And spell out your names, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, at Touchpoint Press, at Mystery on Main Street in Brattleboro, Vermont, at Barrington Books in Barrington, Rhode Island, at the Book Lovers Gourmet in Webster, and Annie's Bookstop in Worcester. They get that one wrong. Oh, and also Mrs. Bridges' Pantry in Woodstock, Connecticut. You can go and buy my book and have a great cup of tea and enjoy that. My web address, my web page is Sharon Healy Yang, and that's SharonHealyYang.com. And there's all kinds of neat stuff on that page. And please, you see the appearances, come, and I'd be happy to chat with you. You can hear I'll do a little reading from it if you have any questions about writing or need any encouragement. I actually, one of the people who had come to one of my readings ended up getting a contract from my publisher. She used what we talked about and
So
made
things
a
are
connection.
moving forward for that person.
Yes, definitely.
So catch this: Letter from a Dead Man, a Jessica Minton mystery, Stolen Jade, Secret Identities, and Murder put Jessica Minton under the gun. Now that's her second one, and the first one, you'll be able to read this too, Bait and Switch. She plays at deadly intrigue on the stage, then fate hands her the real deal there. You'll say, thank you so much for being on. Let us know when the next one comes out.
Certainly, Jean.
Another Jessica Minton, right?
You betcha.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on Be My Guest.
Bye.